another episode of hippoBrain. Here is where we have hippo-sized conversations with people with hippo-sized brains. Today is a very interesting, and every time we do a hippoBrain conversation, we meet such interesting people. Like, for the hell of me, today you will realize, and I first heard it and I was like, is that really possible? Can anybody make a company of 400, 500 crores selling flowers? Rajesh, over to you to introduce our guest and our lovely hippo conversation.
Thank you very much, Jaimit. Our guest today is Pawan Gadia. Pawan is CEO of Ferns N Petals. And I'm sure if you have ever done gifting of flowers or cakes, you would have heard of FNP. FNP has nearly 350 outlets across flowers and cakes, 100 plus cities in India, and a presence in UAE and Singapore. We are not here to just talk about FNP. We are here to talk about Pawan. And I think you'll find some amazing stories coming out through how Pawan began his life in Kolkata, has led FNP as CEO for the last almost 20 plus years. It's what I call a proficon. It's essentially private, profitable, and a wonderful business that Pawan has really shaped through the past 2 decades. Welcome to hippoBrain, Pawan.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So Pawan, let's start with the initial journey. You grew up in Kolkata. You started working at a very early age, when you were in the 10th standard. And there's also this book that you had mentioned by Wilbur Smith, The Angels Weep, which really inspired you when you were in the 11th standard. Let's start with your early journey. Take us through those early years to how you came to be at FNP in 2001.
Sure. So in 1986, I finished my 10th standard and I joined a steel forging company, which used to supply steel forgings and machine parts to Indian Railways. So this is in Jamshedpur. And then right in 11th standard, I used to do a full-time job and do an evening college to do my 11th and 12th. That happened, and thereafter I shifted to Calcutta in the same company, seeing that I was able to put 2 and 2 together. The directors took me to Calcutta. There they further taught me as to this is how I had already learned the manufacturing part of it, and I had also started going to office to understand more about the business. While this was happening, I came across a book, and I've been looking out for books since I was maybe 2nd standard. I don't know how did I develop that habit, but I used to beg, borrow, and steal to read. So this book comes across me, which is Angels Weep by Wilbur Smith, in which the hero, he against all odds, he succeeds. And he eventually becomes the prime minister of the fictional Rhodesia at that point of time, beating Cecil John Rhodes. So this inspired me कि whatever one wants to do and whatever one needs to do, कुछ करके हो जाता है boss. So even if you don't have any mentor, there is one way to go about it. So in 89, 90, I had kind of picked up well, putting 2 and 2 together. So the promoters shifted me to Delhi. Oh, I missed a step in between. So in 89, 90 is where I met Vikas Gudgudia. He's the founder of Ferns N Petals. And somehow the stars conspired me to be in touch with him going forward from then on. So in 90, when I shift to Delhi, I was given an assignment to set up a steel forging plant in Behror, which is midway from Delhi to Jaipur. And by then I had learned how to prepare a project report, how to get bank finance, working capital, term loans, and of course manage a 50, 70 odd team member people who are into production of Indian steel forgings. Here again, the relationship with Vikas continued, and in 92 I got married, shifted back to Jamshedpur. And in Jamshedpur was my second job after 6 years of working. This was producing steel machine, very fine precision micron products for Tata Motors. As an ancillary, I used to work there and I was a plant manager there. So there again, I realized the first month of joining this might not be a viable option because the company used to do a turnover of 4 lakh rupees and there was a repayment obligation of around 4 lakh rupees. So ye kaise chalega? So somehow it was a 2-year interesting journey, and we were able to turn the tide around And 2 years later, when I quit that part of the company, it was 18 lakh rupees of top line and a 4 lakh rupees of bottom line. So that was, and I'm not the only person who did it. Of course, there was a lot of team around me to do, but then we went out and found out a lot of ideas. Working capital kaise lana hai, how to increase the term loan, how to hire more power, how to get raw material at a cheaper rate, how to make shifts run at three shifts a day, and so on. So all that knowledge and learning is happening. And I'm in Jamshedpur, and the same promoters now shift me to Lucknow, which is to set up a Tata Motors ancillary once again to supply to the Tata Motors Lucknow plant. So this was again from a greenfield project, acquiring land and thereafter setting up the project and doing of the business. Those were one of the best years of my life and most toughest as well. So here I was blessed with two daughters and wife being a constant support. It was one of the best times. And somewhere in 2001, when Tata Motors had gone through twice a lockdown of 8 odd months, I was left wondering, what am I doing? So suddenly one fine day, I get a call from Vikas ki, let's come and talk to me. I want you to join me. So that is where in 2001 that I joined Ferns N Petals. So by now I am somewhere around 31 years old, and I've gone through a lot of ups and downs in life and learned uh, as much as possible in all kind of roles. So I'm kind of ready here to join. So that's my small journey till Ferns N
And
Petals.
at that time, Ferns N Petal was very, very tiny. I think it had a few outlets. And how was it at that time? And then we'll cut to today.
Sure. So Ferns N Petals started in 94 with a single flower shop. Now Vikas has this vision and tenacity of getting into a particular subject or a product or an idea and thereafter clinging on to it. So he had a very tough time from 94 to a year or two wherein the shop got sealed, but however he hung on and he kept the shop successful. And once one shop started doing well and he was able to come up with very creative ideas, flowers coming out of a balti, flowers coming out of a lantern, or so people used to like this a lot. So while this is happening and he's doing so good at flowers, so people approached him कि हमारी शादी में भी फूल लगा दो. So wedding flowers happening. And when one shop did well, why not open a second shop? So he invested his own money, opened a second shop, and then a third. So by the time there are three shops, now people have started coming in and talking to him, ki, hey, if we want to open a franchise of yours, how to go about it? So this is where the franchising part of the business started, ki, providing people with trained manpower of doing up flowers the Ferns N Petals way, and supplying the various accessories which has to go to making up these flowers. So the first franchisee opened in Faridabad, and thereafter we continued to build up. So by the time I joined Ferns N Petals in 2001, we were around 10, 12 odd outlets, mostly in Delhi NCR, and we were doing a decent amount of weddings business, and that's it.
So Pawan, franchising 20 years ago would have been relatively new, and franchising processes, systems, etc., may not be the same as we understand today. How would you? Because I think in those days, franchisee, I don't know, would have been चलिए ले फूल ले ले और कुछ थोड़ा सा know-how ले ले, and we'll try and figure it. How did this grow, and how did you manage that from 10, 12? I'm sure as a franchise, managing 300, 400 is a totally different ballgame.
Absolutely. So, coming from a manufacturing background, you are heating steel at 880 degrees and grinding it into 30 microns tolerance. From there to flowers. In fact, before I joined, a couple of my friends said, "कहाँ जा रहा है? फूल वूल में क्या करेगा? तनख्वाह भी नहीं मिलेगी." So, anyways, so had took the plunge to talk about franchising. So yes, once we joined, we realized कि अब तो franchisee के लिए inquiries आनी शुरू हो गई हैं. So how to go about it? So we had to make a franchising prospectus. Okay, this is our prospectus to the prospective franchisees. So we invited a couple of prospectus from others, learned from it, made the franchising prospectus. So वो बना के then started sending it to people. We also realized ki we have to do a photo shoot and print our own catalog of Ferns N Petals way of doing it. So we created various designs of bouquets, arrangements, wreaths, decoration, car decoration, jaimala, whatever goes into running a flower shop. We did that. Thereafter, we realized that our logo and the entire activity was designed in '94. So you need to go through it again. So we hired an agency who did this from scratch. So that activity happened. While this is happening, we also realized that the training part of our manpower, the florist who does this, is pretty poor. So I remember me and Vikas going all over Europe and Southeast Asia to find a florist training school who can teach us and who can give us manpower where we can standardize as to how to present the flowers. So that activity happened. And while this is happening, the number of shops are growing. We realized, hey, we need to buy more material, more stuff, and where to get it. So trips to China started happening in as early as 2004. And there used to be a Guangzhou fair, which we used to attend twice a year and start buying from China to build all this. Going to Firozabad for glass, Muradabad for gift items, Saharanpur for wooden items. So wherever possible, which we could find something beautiful, which is different and which goes along with our product line, we started procuring that. We built a warehouse here, which could stock all this, and then we could ship all this from here. We also started training people who can, whenever a shop is being opened, you go and work out there and make the shop beautiful for the first day, for the launch. We also started doing our own PR at that point of time, wherein if a new shop is opening, you advertise in the local papers, even if it's a small, or for that matter, call the press. So at least people come to know about us. While all this is happening, we realized that I alone cannot do this. So somewhere in 2005, 2005ish, we hired heads to head this particular vertical of franchising, who can take this over from me and do this. So it's been very different. And now of course, it's a total ball game altogether as to managing 300 odd franchisees.
So, Pawan, let me just hold you there. I think in a franchising business, especially, there are various problems that you see. So, number one, as I see it, number one, you are a creative business. You have to think of the various different ways to make a flower arrangement. So that's the creative side of it. But while you're creative, you also want to standardize it. So there are two forces at play. So every florist would believe maybe creative, maybe Van Gogh. I will also want to do something pretty and different. So how do you manage this difference? And second, very importantly, there is a supply side problem and a training side problem. So I wanted to answer these two things. That first, how do you manage creativity and standardization as two opposing forces? And the second one, of supply, which is the hardware and ensuring flowers reach on time, wooden blocks, glass items, versus the training problem, which is the bigger problem. So over to you.
So I think both are equally good problems, and both are there equally important ones. I would not say one is bigger. In terms of training, say for example, when we got somebody from UK, he taught us कि आप एक बाल्टी के अंदर में one of your florist is putting up 10 bundles of flowers and the other one is putting up 4 bundles of flowers. So the flowers which are 10 bundles, the flowers are crushed. They are never able to bloom. So standardization starting from as early as putting up what kind of number of flowers to put into a bucket so that they are adequately bloomed, and thereafter cutting it, taking pictures out of it, creating a catalog, and more importantly, we used to have a pool of, in fact, even today we have it, a pool of florists. So we at any point of time have 20 odd florists in our office, in our head office, and in our shops who are constantly learning to doing the flowers the Ferns N Petals way. So if out of the 250 flower shops across the country, say for example in Chennai, one of my florists wants to go home, or he's leaving the job, or he's going on a holiday, or he falls sick, we send him a standby manpower. So training the guy here in terms of how you are able to do flowers was one of the core offerings which we had, and this is what made us different from rest of everybody else. Earlier, if you remember, the bouquet was a triangle bouquet with a bucket with a basket niche. So we were able to bring in those kind of different packaging from China, from learning from the experts all across the world. I remember going to flower shows to Chiang Mai and God-forsaken places to learn as to flowers kaise bante. And then calling those experts. In fact, we have called experts like Preston Bailey, Per Benjamin, Maggie Lindsay. So those people used to come in here and teach us as to how to do flowers. And these are the only 3 names I took. I think we must have called somewhere around 10 odd world designers for flowers. And thereafter, these guys used to train. In fact, we also opened a flower training school. So not just for ourselves, but also for the rest of the fraternity, and for that matter, customers who would want to come and learn how to do floristry. So that was the part. Coming back to the second problem in terms of supply side. So here flower today is grown in India is in 3 major locations, which is Bangalore, Pune, both being moderate climates, and thereafter in the hills. So 60-70% of your flower will come from here. 5 odd percent, I would say, is imported, and rest is all across the country spread over. So here the supply problem is solved in such a way that flowers from these 3 locations come to the various flower mandis across the country. And every major city has a flower mandi. In this flower mandi, there are wholesalers whom we have identified and have an ARC. These guys know as to what do we need, and then accordingly they procure that for us, and they after ship it to the various shops depending upon the requirement. By virtue of being in this business for a long time, we know that tomorrow being Saturday and Sunday, my sales are going to be higher. My red roses might be selling more, or for that matter on a Monday, because of a corporate, I might be needing lilies more. So all that demand forecasting is happening, and we understand that these are the flowers or greens which we need to procure. Now another dimension is added to this. Other than flowers, now we also have to add plants. We have to add cakes. So now we have around 90 odd cake shops and around 10 odd central kitchens. So these central kitchens and cake shops also will have to further plan, forecast, produce, and deliver in an intact condition first to the cake shops, the retail cake shops, and thereafter it is going to the customers. So this we have learned over a period of time, and I think we do very well. Yeah.
So, Pawan, I want to just go deeper into this. Now, obviously, the business has evolved a lot in the last 15, 20 years. And how has the technology backend, how has that evolved through the years? I think that would be good to get a sense of, because I'm sure 2004-5 were early days. You were making the trips, you're traveling across, you're identifying really in a way, you are also learning the fundamentals of the business. And cut to now, how have things changed? How has technology come in into the business? How has the whole foundations really of F&P become digitized?
Sure. So this is also an interesting story as to how did we start our online business. So till 2001, we are doing only retail. 2002, somebody walks in from India Times and tells us कि flowers आप online बेच लो. तो कैसे बिकेगा? तो India Times as a marketplace के ऊपर में फूल लगा दो, and you can sell flowers out there. So the catalog which we had created for our retail shop came in handy. We scanned those pictures and put them up on the website, on India Times website, and we started getting orders. And Rajesh, the orders which we used to get was mind-boggling. Every day, 30 orders, 40 orders, and to be delivered all across the country. So we, because of the flower shops tie-up which we had, we were comfortable in delivering the top few cities, but not everywhere. So how to go about Gwalior? So Gwalior के अंदर मेरे फूफा जी रहते हैं, उनको फूफा जी वहाँ पे which is the best flower shop in Gwalior. So he used to tell this guy and then call up that guy. So that guy says कि बोले साहब पहले पैसा भेजो. तो पहले पैसा भेजो, there is no Paytm, there is no NEFT there. So you have to send him money or use your vocabulary skills to convince the guy to ask to order करा दे, and then we will have the money transferred to you. So India Times when started giving us 30-40 orders, and which was very exciting, we realized where else can we get? So we went to Rediff. They again, when the moment we got on to Rediff used to give us more orders than India Times. So okay, then now that pattern समझ में आ गया. So next is Sifi Mall. Then we go to Fab Mall. Fab Mall is based out of Bangalore. So here Fab Mall was an interesting story. When we went to Fab Mall says, look, we already have enough florist guys. We don't need you. So the category head out there was a lady called Jalaja. So I used to send her flowers every month, first of every month, and saying that, hey Jalaja, have a nice day. And it took her 7 months, but she eventually said, Now we need a florist. Please come and join our panel. So flower selling on marketplace, and parallelly we quickly realized that we also need to do our own website. So Ferns, and our URL used to be fernsnpetals.com. But then we were undeterred because we never knew कि इसका कोई छोटा version भी हो सकता है या होना चाहिए. And at that point of time, we only used to think about Ferns and Petals. So our site was hosted on a technology from a third party, which continued. We also started building the category option of it. And while all this happening, we 2006, an interesting episode happened that we had also hired an online head. Now this gentleman in 2006 takes our entire database and the team and sets up his own online flower delivery business. I was in China at that point of time. The day I landed back here, there is nobody in the online business. A 12-member team, none of them reported to work. So from there, we started from scratch once again and build up the entire customer base, the partner base, and this is how it continued. And 2007, then we migrated to a bigger platform, which was maybe 10 times expensive than what we were doing. This happened. And this continued till 2013. In 2013, we realized that we need our own technology platform. So we hired our CTO, who is a brilliant guy, Vasant Kamatgi. So he built our entire platform from scratch. So the moment we had our own platform, Rajesh, our CR improved by 70%. Because now we were able to solve problems what we knew and then solve it much faster. So this entire activity is happening in terms of building up the online platform. Parallelly, of course, more and more and smarter people started joining. We had people in marketing who had the entire learning, who can share this. And today we are in the second version of the building of our entire platform. In fact, the biggest technology new development which we have ever taken as a company, as a project, in fact, it's going to cost us somewhere around 25 odd crores to just build this tech platform. And of course, now we were also used to be on a very good lookout for what kind of tools we can get. So whether it is going to various symposiums, and we partnered with Adobe in terms of marketing, we also did with Oracle, and we were always very hungry and knowledge seekers as to what can we learn from anybody. And this kept on adding to our technological bandwidth and strength.
And if I take you now to currently, I mean, you also expanded then. So India is going fine. I mean, this is a classic story, what you've described, in fact, of, real on how entrepreneurs work. Ek problem aati hai, and you then keep solving it. Okay, one mountain you climb, there's another mountain to be climbed. So it's, mountains after mountains that are being climbed. And then in the last few years, you have also taken the business internationally. You've opened up FNP in Dubai and in Singapore. Now that would have been a very different experience, because then it's not like you're a SaaS business where you can service everything from India. Right. Your supply has to come locally. You have to train people locally. How was that challenge?
Okay. So before we went to abroad, in India, we were started doing things differently. So from fernsnpetals.com, we came to fnp.in first. And then we realized that somebody suggested that fnp.com is available. So this is, I'm talking about 10 years back, and somebody quoted around $20,000 for that. So there again is a story that okay, bhai, we somehow collected our guts, we'll buy that fnp.com. So by the time we went and agreed that offer, he says, no, I have one more brother, and the brother says that it's going to be 25,000 US now. So मैंने कहा भाई इससे पहले कि तुमको जवाब दूं, पहले बताओ भाई कितने हो. So he said, we are only 2 and 25 is our final offer. So we bought fnp.com. So we migrated from fernsnpetals.com to fnp.com. That was a good transition, good URL to remember. While this is happening, our category expansion also happened. So we started doing flowers. From flowers, we realized cakes goes very well with this. Then we started doing personalized as a product. We added plants as a category, balloons, experience gifting, and so on. So by now, the entire learning is becoming better and better. And thereafter, what can we add more? We can add is in terms of delivery slots. So earlier, the slot used to be only one in the entire day, we'll deliver anytime. Then we made into 2 slots. Then we made it into 3 slots. And then we made into a fixed time delivery slot. As early as 2003 or 4, we started offering midnight delivery, which was a hit. कि रात को 12 बजे the bell will ring and you can have a flower gift delivered. So it was a super hit. And we used to charge extra, of course, for this. Over and above this, how to make it more premium. So we started sending a guitarist to play along with the gift. So that again was a hit, and that was a unique thing. The press loved it. We had a lot of coverage because of that. So then we realized, apart from this, add more cities. While adding more cities, how about how should I say, orders from our shops to another shop also started flowing a lot. So cross shops orders and international delivery of orders. So we take order here and have it delivered across the country, across the world. So we realized that US is a very good place where we get majority of the orders because of the NRI population. And second was UAE and a couple of other countries. We also realized, but you'll be surprised to know, that Rakhi is our biggest occasion when it comes to top line. So what does a Fool Wala has to do with Raksha Bandhan? But we deliver last year we delivered, this year we delivered something around 150,000 orders or plus Rakhis across the country and the world. So around 7-8 years back, we realized that our wedding business is doing well, how to expand this, and we opened the Dubai branch. The wedding business, however, there did not do very well, but we realized that now that the team is already there and we have a reason to go to Dubai every quarter, so why not put up a website out there and try? So we started fnp.ae, and Rajesh, you'll be surprised to know we are now there the number one brand when it comes to the category we are in. And when I say number one, we are far ahead of the competition which is there. And starting with 2 players and today around 100 odd people, having our own fleet of 15-20 vehicles, the flowers being imported from Holland, from Kenya, florists coming in from Philippines, our key guys going in from here. We have learned this art of putting this 2 and 2 together. We start with a very, very minuscule expenditure of starting up in a different country. And in fact, prior to that, now we have learned to first create the website from here, build up some traction in terms of getting orders, do the marketing already from here, get SEO ranking up already, develop the catalog, train the team here. So the next 2 countries which we are going to open in Saudi and Qatar, the boys are already getting trained in Dubai. So when we learned this entire activity, this is how it is being done, the next, when we scouted, these are the various list of countries where we can go. So we realized Singapore is one of the very good options where we can go and work there. So the way we started Dubai, we shifted one of our key guys to Singapore and again build up the entire site. And this time we were able to break even much faster. The projected break even was supposed to be in almost 24 months. And I think we broke even somewhere on the 13th month itself, maybe 11th month if I'm not wrong. So, and this of course was helped by Corona because people could not move out, but Singapore started doing very well for us. We also realized that in whichever country we go, we were very agile and quick to adapt and offer services which the competition took time to catch up. So because of our learning of 10,000 orders a day, which we are executing in India, whether it is category, whether it is delivery slots, whether it is guitarist or balloons and midnight delivery, people appreciate this entire activity, and this has now become a replicable model all across where we want to do.
So, Pawan, I have like 100 questions. So Rajesh, bear with me while I'm going one after the other. First one, ye Rakhi 150,000. Outside, I would have just said, आपका Valentine Day बड़ा होगा, आपका New Year's बड़ा होगा, और कुछ और होगा. I would have not imagined Rakhi. What are the other funny, interesting parts of the seasonality of this business? Can you just give us some insights, just anecdotes? If Rakhi is your number one, which are your cities which are number one? What flowers are number one? I just want to understand some of that.
So, Rakhi, of course, being number one, and this was taught to us as early as in the marketplace model when we were in 2003-4. So, Rakhi ka we used to see a spike. And then you can put in two and together. फिर पहले सिर्फ राखी बेचते थे, then add Rakhi with sweets, Rakhi with flowers, Rakhi with dry fruits, Rakhi with chocolates. And Rakhi, then you have maybe 100 odd different varieties of Rakhi, Meenakari Rakhi, Moti Rakhi, Simple Rakhi, Rudraksh Rakhi, and blah, blah. And then, of course, try to deliver it as fast as possible. So that's the trick here. Then we started to answer your question, furthermore interesting, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Daughter's Day, Parents' Day, Boss Day, Secretary Day, Valentine Day, of course. We also deliver Gulal and Gujia on Holi. That does very well for us. And we are looking for a day. You tell us a day, we'll create a Jaimit day. But we should get 10 orders extra. That's it. So,
if my team is watching, I will tell them that 10 orders mein Jaimit day to ban jayega. So that is one part of it. The other thing you spoke about, cross shop delivery. ये मेरे दिमाग में नहीं आया. What does that mean, cross shop delivery?
We have these 250 flower shops and 100 odd cake shops. So when somebody walking into a shop in Kolaba and wants the flower to be delivered either in Vashi, or for that matter getting it delivered in Bangalore, or for getting delivered in New York, and the entire range now, flower, cakes. So this is, we call cross shops order. So you don't have to physically go and deliver it in the next location. And since it's an already standardized system of placing these orders available to you, you use it now. So it's an in-house intercompany related functionality which we have.
Interesting. And the last thing that very interesting, what I wanted to understand is the wedding business versus the gifting business. So from an outside in, can you explain to us how does the wedding business work, and what you could explain of the economics of the wedding business versus the gifting business? So how are these two different, and what are the challenges and scale in both of these businesses?
Sure. So gifting business is 365 days. Wedding business is just maybe 60 odd days in a year, 60 to 90 days in a year.
Sorry, just to hold you, wedding business is शादी हो रही है, मेरे को पूरा decoration चाहिए. Is that what it is?
Correct. So in wedding, we have 3 fundamental verticals here. So today we have around 12 odd banquets and 3 hotels, which are wedding hotels. So we have banquets to the size of say 50,000 square feet, wherein we rent it out to a customer with the entire decoration, air conditioning, and it looks stunning. Of course, you have to get your own caterer and entertainment to conduct the entire wedding there. So that is the banquet business is one part of the story. Second is wherein you might want to get a wedding done in Lonavala. So we have a section of the team which specializes into this aspect, that they don't do weddings in our fixed banquets, but go and do a wedding in Lonavala. And the third aspect of our business is wherein we do the entire event. Now you want to get this entire event planned for us in Lonavala, or for that matter in Prague. So we have a team here. The entire event will be managed from invitation card till honeymoon. We'll plan everything for you. So these are the 3 various verticals in weddings. Challenges: 365 days, fixed day. The number of days are less. The various other challenges which go, this business stretches up till 4 in the morning, unlike an order which you can just go and deliver and then the business is, the transaction is over. So these are a few fundamental, and of course this is a very high value ticket order when you come to weddings compared to 1,000 odd rupees on a gifting business.
So Pawan, I want to change tracks a little bit.
Sure.
Now, over the last 20 years, you've grown this business, amazingly well. So this has been done without raising any external capital. It's basically the profits of the business which have been plowed back. This is a classic way how it has basically grown. How do you build from there? How the conscious decision of perhaps not raising external capital is perhaps one call. Second is ensuring that there's unit economics basically. So every transaction is a profitable transaction. And in a business where 100 out of 100 orders have to be done on time with full customer satisfaction, because one unhappy customer can be problematic in this scenario. So that decision. So I want to probe a little bit into the way the foundations of the business. How have you built this thing out? And second is, how has your own management style evolved as the business has grown? From the early days of doing it yourself, going either jana, udhar jana, figuring it out, to now running a large organization. And especially a person like you who came from the early days from steel forging to now, how has that personal transformation been?
Sure. So in my previous 2 jobs, loans used to be a pain. When you take a loan, whether it's a working capital or a term loan, and thereafter paying, so money was always tight. And this is something which Vikas never subscribed to, this theory of taking loans, and I loved the idea कि हम बस उधार नहीं लेंगे. Having said this, we had a simple rule whenever we wanted to do anything online, that whatever anybody wants to sell online on fnp.com, it used to have a 50% margin. Simple rule hai. And it should be giftable. It is not for self-consumption. With these 2 rules, then it becomes easier for us in building this entire category and keep a very, very tight control on any kind of cost. So whether it is all the heads, whether it is COGS, whether it is advertising, whether it is technology, whether it is salaries, whether it is rent. So for everywhere there is a thumb rule. Okay, this is the percentage which is allocated to this particular aspect of the business. And fortunately, because of the kind of business we are in, we get the payment first, and then we have to pay out to our creditors anywhere between 30 to 60 days. So that negative cash flow is available to us to deploy. So, and we always had our aspirations, and we moved in such a way that we were very clear कि हमें इतना ही करना है, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं करना है. So maybe we have took longer than everybody else, but then we are still profitable, and we want to continue being on this path, unless of course something much bigger comes in. So while all this is happening, we also had, I learned this very quickly in the past, that not just profitability, but cash flows are also super important here. So you cannot increase your sundry debtors, though it used to be a very small portion of ours. You cannot increase your stocks and exponentially. When somebody tells me कि artificial flower का 3 container मंगा लेते हैं, मैंने कहा रुको भाई, कब तक बेच लेंगे इसको? So money cannot be stuck in debtors, money cannot be stuck in stocks. And we have one more secret which I would like to share with you, is what the monthly profit and loss which we make. Whatever profit we have made, that goes into a separate account. अब जो धंधा है वो इसी कैश फ्लो के अंदर में मैनेज करना है. So that kept us on a very tight leash as to whatever we wanted to do. At the same time, that profit is available to you to be deployed in any kind of expansion or any CapEx you want. Yes. But then this discipline we followed, and we were able to share this thought process with our top management. So all our HODs are responsible for their P&L. They know that from top to bottom kya ho raha hai. And then a monthly reviews, a monthly meeting to make sure that all these are being followed to the T. So once you know that this is what you need to earn, and then of course there is, like every other organization, we have budgets, we have planning, with that next year this is what we are going to achieve a top line. We debate it out for a week, and then whatever we agree upon, thereafter we follow that. And the HODs are fully in control of what is happening and how are you managing this. So this is as far as the profitability portion of the business goes. As far as my own style, earlier I used to be a hands-on guy and doing everything on my own. It took me a lot of years to let go things. I could not. In fact, today I have in the evening I have a 360-degree review of mine, and my colleagues are supposed to give me some reviews, and I can guarantee you what they are going to say is कि you're a micromanager. आप सवाल बहुत पूछते हो, आप छोड़ते नहीं हो. So I'm trying to learn from that and detach myself, as to instead of asking every day or every week, there is a fixed tenure, and that is how things will come out. So letting go of people, empowering them, and I read a lot. I share everything with my top management. Whatever I come across which is knowledgeable, which is shareable, I try to do that. I follow a very strict discipline of coming in time and leaving in time. In the evening, I try to switch off my phone and not switch off my phone in the sense that at least not look at it after a certain point of time. And then, of course, there are alert mechanisms that if something goes wrong, there is a buzzer which will ring. And today, by virtue of being an X 400, 500 crores, and next year we're targeting a 50% increase on this. You have systems in place, you have people in place, and people who are much more smarter than me, who are much more responsible than me, and they realize that key. And you'll be surprised, the top management which we have in the company on average age would be somewhere around 8 years plus. So meaning which we have been able to not nurture them, keep them for a longer period, reward them well, and there is a sense of belonging. Ki, hey, I'm sure whatever we must be doing, there is something right that we give people freedom to operate and reward them well, recognize, and there is a growth path. So because of which now one is able to do well. The last thing I want to add is that somehow necessity and the circumstances has taught me how to put two and two together, and two unrelated things which eventually combine, and you make a business out of it. So this aspect of mine, I think, has helped me to reach where I am. So that's
Pawan, I think I echo a lot of your sentiments. I mean, there are very similar thinkings in the way sort of I have run my businesses over time. I think it's great to hear that echo in terms of how you've built your business. One question here is, if you look back, are there one or two turning points in your sort of management or in the company's history, both sort of they are intertwined, which sort of made you change? And many times the change, of course, we don't realize it at that time, but over time we realize that change is for the better. Like you mentioned about the 2006 episode, when you had to restart from scratch. Are there other one or two such sort of tough moments that you went through, which made the business stronger, but they were tough to go through? And how did you deal with those moments?
Right. So the first thing which I can recall is we got into a quick service restaurant business as early as 2006 to 2009. And for those 3 years, because of the outflow of cash, we were in a very tough situation. And there used to be a daily struggle in terms of managing the cash flows. So somewhere in 2009 or 10, I think, 2010, we decided to exit from that on one day. So that meant that we have to let go of our own child. Letting go of that child, which was conceived 4 years back and had come to a certain size and scale, and taking the decision of cutting it off on one day. But then I think that was, in hindsight, that was a very good decision, because from that day onwards, all our cash flow troubles disappeared. All our negative energy which was flowing into that business was over, and we were able to only go up from there. So that is one. Second is we also adapted to the new technology. So this, when Vasant's coming in, when Manish is coming in, they were able to bring in a lot of newer ideas. Okay, this is how business should be done. This is how you have to let go. Let us have more structure into the system, various HODs who are responsible for that activity, and more of a financial disciplines, whatever the cash flows, balance sheets, and profit and loss I'm talking about, started coming in somewhere around 2010. So these were a lot of learning as to visibility of what is happening. Adopting of various tools which give visibility as to what is happening your site. CR became our holy grail, as to nothing will be compromised on the altar of CR. And we are in, if you ask me, we are in a very dangerous business, Rajesh. How? We deliver your emotions. And those emotions sometimes are so powerful, so strong, that in one of the Valentine's Day, we could not deliver a particular order of a customer. Next day, this guy is back in our office with his lawyer, and he's a white collar guy, some senior head of an organization, and he says, "Ki, Pawan, you messed up my life. I was going through a difficult phase in my life with my wife, and I trusted you that you will deliver this order for me, and you did not. Dude, I am done. My wife thinks that I don't care about our relationship. I was stunned. At that till that point of time, I was delivering flowers cakes, and that made us realize. Of course, I went there and spoke to the wife and apologized to her, and but then that made us realize, "Hey, boss, we are into a very very responsible business. That, as you said, that if we miss out on a single order, we have, of course, there is even today it happens, we have mechanism in place to address that, but we are in a very very sensitive business. In fact, I remember one of the messages, which was a message from a customer to a recipient, in which we again missed that order, whatever happened in that, I don't remember, a long time back, which says, with love from a guy who changed his religion for you. Oh my god, well, I don't want to be responsible for so much so much how should I say, weight of individuals. So we are in a very very dangerous, very difficult business as well, apart from the logistics and creating here. So it looks very interesting and high flying from outside, but within inside there are a lot of wheels, a lot of clogs which are operating to bring it to where it is.
Just taking on that, in that vein a little forward, आपने बहुत ही beautifully, easily you explained कि we did this, we did this, we did this. It looks so simple, it looks so pretty, and you're rightly saying that it has a lot of emotional weight behind it. I just want to ask you that, what do you think were the one or two big challenges that you could overcome to reach where you are? And from today, you're looking at 50% growth, you're looking at, of course, scaling your business. What are the one or two challenges that you think you will face going forward for your firm?
Okay. So, like every other business, what keeps me awake at night is, what if a startup comes up tomorrow and eats onto our business? So, to repeat the words of my peers whom I've heard in various conferences, that Yahoo used to be a $40 billion business, or for that matter, Blockbuster, which had 9,000 stores, and Netflix crushed them. So, what if tomorrow there is a startup here which does better than what we are doing? So, with this knowledge, there is a lot of humility within us and the team, as to do not perceive any idea which looks small to you today. So we take each and every idea very seriously, and we are slowly setting up a R&D center / a crack team, which works only on a smaller ideas, builds up to something around 10-15 orders a day, and hands it over to a regular category guys. The biggest challenge I believe that going forward for us is going to be adapt to the new change and new cultures which are prevalent in various countries. Say, for example, we are used to working here 7 days a week. My colleagues almost work here 6 days a week. In Singapore, however, we work only on 5 days a week. कभी समझ में नहीं आता, मैंने कहा यार ओवर टाइम ले लो. Work for 6 days, we are short of manpower. So the culture there is, no sir, you pay us enough. We are happy in what we are working, and we want 2 days for our family. So for us to learn into that new culture as to this is how the world operates, our fear of if we decentralize too much, what is going to happen? And lastly, of course, a new startup as to who might come and disrupt us tomorrow. Say, for example, a greeting cards brand which was there in the past, and today they are struggling, is because something else came up and it changed the way people used to gift. How do we make sure that we are not those guys? So whether it is any kind of smallest gifting ideas, we pay a lot of attention to it and make sure that it does not go under the radar, and tomorrow there is a Hulk standing in front of us which is threatening us.
I mean, beautifully put, Pawan. I think what sort of come out as we have been talking is your ability to constantly learn and reinvent. I think right from the early days, you have not been afraid of the unknown, afraid of the untried, or you have not been afraid of the untested. Even when you made the shift to a industry where you didn't know anything about. Flowers and steel are as different as we can imagine. So how do you keep this hunger going? Even today, you've been in this business 20 years, and it's very rare to see someone stick on for so long. Okay. You've got a management team that has stayed with you for a long time. How do you keep that motivation going with them when there are so many other opportunities people have outside, which are there? So what's the Pawan inside, which really drives you? That's what I want to know.
My kids and my wife tease me always that I was never there. And I was never there, and my daughters have grown. And today I feel that I should have given them more time, but that's in hindsight, that's water already under the bridge. What makes me going is, I don't know, I have a hyperactive brain or something, wherein I try to, I cannot sit idle. I need to learn something, read or watch or talk to people, which stimulates my brain. So I'm a voracious reader. I watch a lot of video content, TV series, movies, or YouTube, which I need to constantly learn, which I feel that I am super happy to share everything I have. So I have a page wherein I take notes of whatever I come across, and it is open to my team. Okay, this is what I have learned. And sometimes they roll up their eyes कि बाबाजी ने ज्ञान शुरू कर दिया, and and then I share with them the story which I learned कि how is Chernobyl and oil and potatoes related. So I read it somewhere. So one is very clearly my team's entire thought process of constant knowledge seeking and thereafter sharing with them and ensuring that they all grow with me. So and when they have a path very clearly that this is where you're going to be there in the next 2-3 years, I think everything else follows.
I'd like to ask one last question, at least from my side, as we're nearing the close. I think we still have 5-7 minutes, but Proficons, Rajesh often talks about, and something that you've also spoken about, fiscal prudence in terms of trying to keep your cash flows, not leveraging the business, etc. To a youngster coming out, forgive me, these seem probably old-fashioned, saying, "Ye kya kar rahe ho? You are stopping me from growing. You're stopping me from inventing, reinventing new things. You're stopping me from going in new markets. So fine, you've reached where you are. Maybe you could have reached far more than where you are." So how would you react to that? That a lot of what you're saying in terms of cash flow, I appreciate. There's very few people who probably understand cash flow. And that is the king. It's not profitability, but typically cash flow king kills businesses. But this fiscal prudence or conservatism, does it come in your way? Do you often think about it? Or how would you react to the criticism that I just threw at you?
Sure. So let us talk about the business we are in and the categories which we are in. Rajesh and Jaimit, you are people who are in this world, same world as I'm in. I mean, the marketing / e-commerce world. How much do you think is going to be this entire market size of the business we are in? If we are doing around 400 crores, I believe it's going to be around 1,000 odd crores, maybe 1,200 crores. Usse upar nahi. Now, if somebody is building an oil refinery and there is a 20,000 crore capex, that's the way to go about it. If somebody is building a business as mine, and when we started, let's start, a startup wants to do today. So if you want to say a market size of 1,000 odd crores, how much money are you willing to bet onto it, or any investor is going to bet onto it to build this up? So as long as one feels that this is what the money I'm going to invest, and there again depends upon what are they doing? They are doing it to sell, or they are trying to run the business here forever. So our philosophy is that we would want to run it to as much as possible instead of exiting. So both being two different goals here, a startup or a couple of guys might come and say that we are going to build this up and we are going to sell. To sell to whom? it's a 1,000 crore business, and let us say that 5 years from now it is going to be a 6,000 crore business. 6,000 crores के अंदर में assuming that you are a 20% owner of the business, who is going to be your exit? Is it going to be one of the biggest marketplaces? When they have gone to a couple of billion, will this interest them? And with so much kitchen activity going on here, or is going to be a strategic buyout from somebody from 1-800-Flowers or coming and buying out you? Where is the exit? Or an IPO? So where is the exit? So and it applies to any other business. One what is getting into. We very strongly believe that unit economics, keeping cost in control, profitability are there. And it's not that we don't have losses in our business. Our international operations are going to break even only after 2 years. This is over and above the working capital loss plus the capex which we are investing. So it's not that we are not going on that method, but then we are going with a method with an end game in mind. This is where we eventually have to make money. And that is where the exit for everybody else is also there. So I hope I've answered your question, Jaimit.
I think very well put, Pawan. It's this sort of similar challenges which I also think about, that as a business, while one is always open to what offers can come in, how do we create the built to last mindset?
Yes.
That it's the passion that every morning you go in, that you're going to run this business forever. You're not closing your eyes to offers which may come. But it's not a short-term thing of just pure valuation. It's somewhat old-fashioned in today's times to think of growth and profitability. Everyone thinks of growth. Growth is, of course, the oxygen today for everyone. But without profits, where is the capital going to come for your business? You're always dependent on someone else. Correct. And I think what you've done is really brought out, I think, all of the aspects. I think the journey, the two journeys that are intertwined together, your personal journey and, of course, the journey of FNP, you've brought it out very well. And I think you've created a fantastic foundation, really. And it's rare to come across, business being done according to me, sort of the right way, where there is growth and there is profitability in the business. I think hats off to you and of course Vikas for the way you've done it. But one final question for you. When you look back at, I think, what has been an amazing story to the hero of the Angel's Weep, and you compare your life today, what do you see? If you read Angel's Weep today, do you think you've reached there, or there are still miles to go?
There are miles to go. It's a long way to go. I believe personally, in terms of my domestic front, my family front, I'm blessed. Professionally, of course, I believe that there is another good 10, 15, 20 odd years. And we aspire to be the biggest gifting brand in the world. So it's a long way to go.
Fantastic. Wonderful words to bring our hippoBrain conversation to a close. I think it's been an amazing chat, very different from the ones sort of we've done so far. And really, really inspirational story. Back to you, Jaimit.
Yeah, it's been quite a beautiful story and a lovely story, considering it's Ferns N Petals. And it's interesting how Pawan says it so simply, but it's actually, it's a culture, as you rightly said, of learning and reinventing and pushing the bar every time. So if it's flowers, how beautifully can we make those flowers? If it's cake, how do we get the logistics in place? If along with flowers, let me send the guitar guy. If we want to send something else along with it, it's constantly learning. And I'm reminded of a quote by Alex Rampell. He says the battle between every startup and the incumbent comes down to whether the startup gets distribution before the incumbent gets innovation. And I think when Pawan constantly is looking and pushing for innovation consistently, he's taken away one of the big things that a startup fundamentally has, which is innovation in the category. And that makes it even more difficult for somebody to come in. So there is another story which I find very interesting. So the Portuguese in the good old days went and seized a few ships of black pepper of the Zamorin of Koikod. And they wanted to take it back and everybody thought, "Arey, तुम्हारा तो pepper लेके गया है." Well, yeah, pepper तो तुम लेके गए, but you cannot seize our monsoons, can you? So in many ways, it is the monsoons that nurture the pepper and give it that flavor over a period of time. So you may come, and Pawan has faced it. Somebody came and took their database, took their people, took their entire network, but you couldn't take Pawan's monsoon, which is the constant ability to consistently innovate, consistently push the bar on it, to take that feeling of that I am responsible for someone's emotion. And I think that culture of learning and caring, etc., is what Pawan and his team brings to the table. And that's what makes them fun and better. And that is their monsoon. Rajesh?
Thank you very much, Jaimit. I think beautifully summarized. Closing words, Pawan?
We are into the gifting business and we want to be here forever. Anybody wants to be a part of our journey, most welcome. And Rajesh and Jaimit, you have been very, very kind, and thank you for the lovely words and the comparison which you did. I'm stunned. I'm astounded somebody can think like that. But thank you very much for having me here.
Great, thank you, Pawan. And come to a close of a beautiful hippoBrain conversation. If you would love to hear more hippoBrain conversations, press subscribe. Believe me, these have changed my life. It will change yours as well. There is a bell icon. Ring it so that you get these notifications. We publish typically at Friday at 4 p.m. every day. So your weekends are always entertaining and intelligent. And here are a few videos that we have had from the past that you can refer to, which are probably similar or different as we choose it to be. And thank you for listening to us for yet another beautiful hippoBrain conversation. Thank you all.